Hi Homeworthy, I'm Skye. This is my home in London. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Like and subscribe for more.
Hi, I'm Skye McAlpine, and today we're in my home in London, which is a Victorian townhouse in southwest London near the park. 5 stories, so it's very tall with lots of stairs, so it's really good exercise going up and down the stairs. I live here with my husband Anthony and our 2 boys, Aeneas, who's 10, almost 11 years old, and Achille, who is 4. I read classics at university, so I've always had a soft spot for classical literature, so they're 2 great, or 2 of the great Greek and Roman heroes. So Aeneas is the founder of Rome, and Achille is just the Italian for Achilles, the Greek hero. So I just thought they were really beautiful names. So I am a cookery writer, or I started as a cookery writer. So I write cookbooks and I develop recipes and contribute to magazines and various platforms online. And 2 years ago nearly now, I launched my own tableware range as well. So now I'm also a small business owner. So I grew up in Italy, I grew up in Venice. And so it's impossible, I think, to grow up in Italy and not love food. So I've always been very greedy and I've always enjoyed good food and good meals. But I think I was very lucky that I grew up in a home where food always meant more than, it was always more than just the sum of ingredients. It was always more than lunch or dinner. It was always an opportunity to bring together friends and family, or new friends, old friends. It's always kind of a very social moment and a very happy moment in the day. So I think that's where my passion for cooking for others and for bringing people together around the table really started from. And then everything else kind of stemmed from there. So the cookbooks and the tabletop, that's all kind of like an extension. They're all kind of pieces in the puzzle. Well, welcome to my hallway. It's very small and narrow, and it leads straight onto the kitchen and the living room. So we didn't really have too much to work with this space, but we wanted it to feel still kind of quite special and very welcoming. So the starting point was this wallpaper, which is hand painted by this wonderful artist called Alistair Peebles, who our friend Ben Pentry found for us. And we came up with the design together. So it's inspired by antique Swedish wallpaper. And then when Alistair was painting it, he wanted to incorporate elements that were kind of representative, or that in some way captured the spirit of me and my husband. So my husband loves birds, so we have all these beautiful birds. And then I love fruits, so there are pomegranates and lemons as well in the wallpaper. So it feels, it's very, very special for us. And so that kind of is the sort of big impact element of the hallway, and it leads all the way up the stairs to the living room. And then we needed a table, but it's a really narrow space. So we wanted to get kind of like a half moon table to sort of create that sense of hallway, and also somewhere to just pop all our bits. Like I have this lovely antique brass basket where I just kind of put all the keys and clutter. So we found this one at an antiques market, and it's just a simple marble top and then a kind of really pretty ornate wooden carved design around the edges. And then I just kind of try and fill it with a mixture of useful things like keys and wallets and sunglasses and hair bands, like those kind of things that you're like grabbing when you're dashing outside of the doorway. But also like I like to have flowers in the hallway. This is a really beautiful vase, ceramic 1920s vase that my husband Anthony gave me for my birthday this year, and I absolutely love it. And it's really clever. It's kind of got these little holes inside it, so you can kind of put the flowers and it holds them in a really pretty arrangement. And then we have all our little pictures. I love this one of Achille, our youngest, that his godfather gave us in this beautiful antique frame. So it's kind of keep this here. And then kind of I also keep, you know, whenever we get given letters, or if I host a dinner and there's a menu or something, kind of a memento of evening, I like to keep those as well. And when people sweetly come for dinner and send us thank you notes, I always keep those. And these are so beautiful. This is a friend of ours who's Matthew Rice. He's an incredibly talented illustrator, and he sent us very sweetly, adorably, a thank you note, and he kind of illustrated the envelope so it looks like the steps, our front steps. Yeah. Oh, and then I also love this lamp, which is a stork. So we found it in an antiques market in Brussels, and it's a stork kind of bird, which I think is quite cute. And then I got it rewired, and then added this really beautiful hand-painted lampshade from Rosie de Ruig, who I love. I just love her designs. I think she's incredibly clever. And there's just like a sort of pop of colour that sort of very lightly picks up the sort of dusty red of the pomegranates and the wallpaper. One of the things that I love about this house is that it's an old house. It's a Victorian house. So it has kind of really good bones, I'd say, you know, lovely high, tall ceilings, kind of a nice sort of architectural structure to it. But when we bought the house, it had been developed by a property developer, I think probably in the 1990s, and most of the kind of the charm had been sort of ripped out of it, and kind of it had a very modern kitchen and very modern bathrooms. The fireplaces had been taken out. There were no cornices. It had kind of very contemporary flooring. So it really kind of, and it had been quite cheaply done as well. So it really lacked soul, but the sort of outside of the house and the sort of structure, the bones of the house were magical. And so we kind of knew that it had such potential. So we worked with a really good friend and completely brilliant architect called Ben Pentreath, who very sweetly worked with us to kind of inject some magic back into the house. So when we were talking about how we wanted the house to feel, the things that were important for me was like lots of light, and that was one of the things that the house already had, these kind of big windows, so it was naturally very light, but lots of colour, and to feel very cosy, and kind of comfy, and like it had kind of always been lived in, and also welcoming. And, you know, for the kitchen space needed, of course, to work for me, because I work there when I'm developing recipes, as well as like when we're having supper there as a family. But also, you know, I've never knowingly said no to a party. I love a good party. So we kind of also built the kitchen, or designed the kitchen in such a way that it's a very flexible space, and you can kind of move things around and have 20 or 30 people over for dinner when we want to. And now this is my favourite room. Come with me. This is the kitchen, come dining room, come home workstation, come Tavola, tableware design station. It's kind of where everything happens. So this, when we bought the house, this was kind of 2 rooms, and the kitchen was actually down this end where we now have the dining room. And over here they had a sort of more of a dining area, and we kind of knocked through to make it kind of a kind of really big light space, so you can get the light from both sides. And it was a really big project. We kind of put the floors in, and we put the cornices in, and the antique Murano chandeliers. So it kind of was very, very, very different when we first got the keys to the house. So this is our dining table. So I think you comfortably seat about 12. And then if we have a big party, I add extensions on, so you can kind of have a table that goes all the length of the room. And this is I think it's an antique French one. We found it again at a antiques store, and it's very beaten up and it's slightly warped and very gnarly, but I quite like that because I think wood kind of becomes more beautiful and more characterful with age. So here we are laid up for dinner. These plates are ones that I created for my tableware collection, Tavola, and they're called the Lido plates, and they're named after the beach in Venice is called the Lido, and that's kind of like my happy summer place. But the inspiration for them is, you can see they come in pink and in yellow, and I like mixing them together. And the inspiration for them is this kitchen. So as you can see, the kitchen is yellow, which is my favorite color, but inside, my other favorite color is pink. So inside the drawers, we kind of went for a sort of strawberry ice cream pink. So I kind of love that the plates reflect the kitchen in a way, and they sort of work perfectly in this space. And you can kind of see as well, like we've got kind of pink candy stripe curtains over here, and then we decided to paint the frames of the window yellow as well to kind of just pop and match the kitchen. These are all plates on my windowsill. So these are all samples from Tavola, or plates that I've bought from Tavola just for myself because I love them so much. But we have this massive cabinet that we bought in Brussels at an antiques market and then had reconditioned. So we sort of had it repainted. It was like a sort of black. And then, so we sort of painted it a light shade of grey with this sort of delicate green edging that sort of slightly picks up on the chairs. And then we lined it with this really, I love quite sort of 1950s style Antoinette Poisson wallpaper that I'm a big fan of. And then this is just like the most amazing thing we've ever bought, because it's just, I thought it was an infinite amount of storage, and it is a lot of storage, but somehow I managed to have more plates than we could fit in here. Okay, so for example, this plate here is the inspiration for the blue and white Tutti Frutti plate. And this is, I think, 1950s or 1960s British abode polka dot. And you can see there's this adorable like blue trim with the blue polka dots. So this is very much the inspiration for the Tutti Frutti plates. I found this at a flea market and they only had like 4. So I kind of then wanted to make a version of this that I could have a whole table full of, and hopefully other people could enjoy in their homes as well. So everything kind of comes with its story or has a story, and I love to mix and match vintage and new. And even when something's new, I kind of love it to have a story or a reason why it kind of behind the design. I mean, these, for example, this is a set that I absolutely love and I'm dying to reimagine in some way for Tavola. It's just got this very chic blue, and actually they come in blue and in turquoise, but I've kind of got like 6 of one and 8 of the other. This kind of almost like a sort of nautical rope around the edge, but I just think they're so pretty. It's just such a simple detail, but quite distinctive and very happy. Like it's a really sort of strong poppy happy colour. I mean, it depends who you're talking to. If my husband were here, I'd have to say that I have reached my limit and I have stopped buying plates. But given that he's not, I'll give you the honest answer, which is, yeah, no, I love them. I mean, I love, it's nice to have different plates for different occasions. And, you know, I do love having big parties, so I actually do, part of kind of making it simpler and easier and more fun to entertain is actually having all the pieces that you need. So you're not kind of like, when I used to do it, I'd borrow some from my mother and then borrow some from a friend and this and that. Now I have enough that like we can kind of host as many people as we like. And you can kind of really change up the mood of the table very easily. And I just think it's such a simple way of bringing joy into your life. Like, I kind of love if I'm having breakfast and I have it on a really pretty plate that suits my mood. It makes me feel kind of special. And then suddenly, like, my toast and jam just feels that little bit more exciting. I feel like I've got that down pat now, because I love doing it, so I do it probably far too often. I kind of prepare everything in advance. And, you know, I've got my second cookbook, actually, A Table for Friends, was all about this idea. It's all recipes that you can cook easily, whether it's for 2 or for 20 people, and how to plan a meal when you're kind of catering for larger numbers, so that you can actually enjoy the party too and have a fun time, rather than kind of be slaving away in the kitchen going quietly insane from stress and exhaustion. So, I mean, I keep it very, very simple. I do lots of like big salads or big bowls of maybe grains, or quite often I'll do something like, you know, cold roast beef that I can prepare in advance and then just slice, or you know, some nice big roast chickens or something like that, or a panzanella, you know, kind of which is sort of just torn bread with maybe fresh tomatoes and a bit of fennel in there and some fresh herbs and some olive oil. So like really simple things. So this is one of my favourite things in this kitchen, this collection of copper moulds, which I've built up over years. And they're all different, sort of, as you can see, lots of different shapes. And ages, and actually, so they will have slightly different kind of textures and patterns and colourings, but I quite like that. And I use them for cooking. I'll use them to make jellies, to make panna cotta, some even like this one. I love this one, so cute, with a little teapot on top. It's really cute. Like, if you butter it, you can make a kind of bundt cake, you know, like a nice sort of spongy cake in there. But I also, like, for storage, I sort of have them on the wall and they double as decoration. And my absolute favourite, I mean, I don't like to play favourites, but my absolute favourite is the pussycat up there that you can see that a friend sent me, and she found it in a shop and very sweetly knew that I would love it. And I'm obsessed. And sometimes I make jelly in it. And one time, this was my proudest moment, I made like a sort of black velvet jelly. So it was Guinness and a little bit of Prosecco, I think I mixed in. So it was black, so it was like a black cat. But then I did set cream for the little nose and the little paws and the tip of the tail. So it had like little white nose and feet and tail tip. So it looked like a black cat for Halloween. So anyway, that's my absolute favourite. But I love them all very much. I love the cherries too. This is, yeah, my favourites. And then over here I also have, that I'm obsessed with, this is something that we designed for Tavola. We call it the Aurora box. And it looks like a stack of plates, but it's actually a secret box. And I genuinely find this the most useful thing to have in the kitchen, because they just fill it with clutter. I mean, there's like the boys' sweets in there. I've got some matches, keys. Usually there are like coins, cables, phone chargers, all sorts of ugly bits and bobs, and you can just sort of tidy them away in there. And it looks quite pretty. But also it's quite funny because like quite often, sometimes I'll have a friend over and they'll like come over and be like, I'm just going to grab a plate, and they think it's a stack of plates, but it's not. Secret box. So I love that. And then this is kind of the main part of the kitchen. The hub being our cooker, which is La Conche, and huge, and yet I still run out of oven space occasionally, but it's two double ovens and a small oven and then a warming oven and a lot of hobs. I've never run out of hobs, but I have run out of oven space. But this is the dream to cook with, I must say. At our old flat, we bought a second-hand small La Conche cooker, and we were there for 15 years. And I loved cooking on it every single day. So when we moved in here and we were doing the new kitchen, I knew instantly the one thing that I really wanted was a really big one of these. And so this kind of was the beginning of the design for the kitchen, because we had this huge cooker that we needed to sort of somehow fit in. And then everything else was kind of built around that. I mean, I have a very, very sweet tooth, so I'm not going to lie, I love baking cakes. And the thing I probably love the most, and for this you really need time, so it's for those moments like when I do have time, but I love making a birthday cake. So whether it's for, my sons or for myself or for my husband or for friends, the greatest privilege in the world, I think, is to make someone a birthday cake. It's such a sort of celebratory moment. It's really fun to make because I'm quite greedy, so I'll kind of like take I'll happily lick the spoon or lick the bowl once we're done. But it's a really fun thing to bake, and then it's such a kind of like rewarding and celebratory kind of dish to share with others. So the other thing that I love about this kitchen, there's lots I love about this kitchen, but is this kitchen island, which is an old workman's table that I found it online and bought secondhand. And then we had it reconditioned. So we changed the top to be marble, so it kind of picked up and matches the marble worktops in the rest of the kitchen. And then we added on the wheels, so you can kind of wheel it around. So it makes the space super flexible. So for example, if we're hosting a big party, I can kind of wheel this out onto the terrace and then put trestles in here. Or, if I'm cooking and shooting, I can kind of move it over to a different corner of the kitchen. And I love the space being flexible. I think that works really well for us. And then here we have a lot of our food storage, which is in jars and these open shelves. And the shelves are made out of old cheese boards. So when we bought them, they already had like a lovely patina and texture to them. It didn't kind of feel too new and jazzy. And then we added on these hooks to hang all our mugs. This is my strawberry mug that we did for Tavola. That's with a lovely kind of like braided handle that I love. But I've also like collected other random ones over the years, like Christmas mugs. And then these are some mugs that I designed for Anthropology a few years ago. I love drinking tea from a mug. I always start the day with a mug of tea. So I love my mugs. So I don't know what the right way to make tea is, but I'm very lazy about it. And normally I'll just have a kind of tea bag and add a splash of milk and some sugar. But if I'm having friends joining me for like 11s or morning tea, then I will put special tea in the teapot and use a strainer. And usually use teacups rather than mugs. But not always. Sometimes it's just nice to drink from a mug because it's very cozy and comforting to drink from a mug. And then here we have our big sink, and we've got 2 dishwashers, 1 and 2. That one is now going to keep opening. But which I love because, I do so much cooking, and there are a lot of pots and pans and a lot of plates that need washing up. And it is the greatest luxury in the world, I've got to say, having 2 dishwashers. It's absolutely life-changing. So I love that. And then we have this other little wooden table that's also on wheels. So you can kind of move it around, again, just trying to keep the space as flexible as possible. And last but not least, my yellow sunshine fridge, which I absolutely adore, just because it's such a happy colour. What's not to love? Cheese, lots and lots of cheese. Milk, cream. I'm quite lazy, so I love some like chopped onion in the freezer. That we probably like always have, maybe a bottle of Prosecco or something like that. We've been away for like a week, so my fridge is going to be kind of quite mortifying. Some veggies in there. Usually there are some like condiments languishing in a far corner that have maybe been there a bit too long. But yeah. Butter, lots of butter. So I'd say the decor of our home feels it's very colourful. I love colour. I always dress quite colourfully. I don't own many black dresses. I'm always wearing lots of colour. I love vintage things or antique things. So I'd say our home has a lot of character. It's full of kind of quirky bits and pieces that maybe I've found in a flea market or on eBay or here and there. So it's sort of maybe quite eclectic. Lots of, it's quite chintzy. So I love a floral, hence my floral dress. So there's quite a lot of like floral prints and stripes as well. I love stripes. So it's a mix, I'd say, of florals and stripes. And the colours are all quite sort of like pastel coloured, other than this room, which is sort of, well, this is like, I think kind of like, I like to think of like the house as like ice cream colours. So this is the raspberry sorbet room. But our kitchen is more of like a soft kind of, I'd say, custard ice cream. It's yellow, or like a nice lemon sorbet, and then we've got like pink finishes, like soft pink finishes that are more like a sort of a strawberry ice cream or a strawberry milkshake. So I love kind of soft colours as well as poppy colours, and just light and kind of, I mean, it's definitely a very imperfect home. It's always really messy. It's full of clutter. I love clutter. I love having all the things that I love around me. So it's busy as well. So now come with me. We're going to go upstairs to the living room, study, part of the house. So this is our living room. Welcome. This is the couch. It's super comfy, super squishy. I've actually slept on this couch and it's unbelievably comfortable. We're kind of fallen asleep watching a movie and then spent the night here. And we had it upholstered in this chintz that I'm completely obsessed with. It's a Jean Monroe design and I just love it. I love this intense blue and I love the big pink roses. And then we ended up actually having curtains to match in the study. So it sort of draws the two rooms together a little bit. But I could literally like live in a house that was covered in this chintz. I love it so much. But my other favourite thing in this room possibly is we use this as a bar. It's actually a 1950s Fornasetti fridge that we had restored so that it works, and we kind of use it as a bar. So we keep kind of all the Prosecco and drinks that need to be cold there, and then have our sort of liqueurs and so forth on top. But I kind of love, I love all Fornasetti things, but especially the old stuff I think is kind of really the best. So I was very excited to find this. This fireplace we put in because all the the fireplace has been taken out of the house, so we sort of had them put back in. And this actual this marble fireplace we bought in an antiques shop in Brussels, and then had it fitted. And I do love it, and it's nice and deep, so you can kind of put, I haven't got anything on here today, but quite often I'll put vases of flowers or books or whatever. You can kind of decorate it quite nicely, which I really like. And then coming round, other things that I love in this room. This is a picture of my grandmother. I think it's the only picture I have of her actually, in black and white. I think she looks very glamorous. So I love this photo of her. And then here I have my sort of little trinkets, my scented candles, my matches, a little vase of flowers. This is a Murano glass vase that we do for Tavola, and it's the first design of vase that we did for Tavola in this lovely sugar pink was the first colour. Now we make it in lots of other colourways, in blue and like a sort of soft gold and clear with different things. But I think because it's the first one we did, it's very, very special to me. So I always have that there. I feel like I always have quite jazzy lampshades. I do like a colourful lampshade. This one's quite faded now and it's fabric, whereas most of our other lampshades through the house I think are paper. But it's just quite a beautiful ECAP print that I kind of really liked. And I think because the base is quite simple, it's nice to have a little pop of colour up top. And then, I mean, I love our stripy curtains as well. So this is just the sort of red ticking, like a red stripe, like much thinner than the sort of pink stripes downstairs. And then here, oh, I love this. I've got my sort of bits and bobs, like random collection of vintage cookbooks. The Book of the Onion. I mean, isn't that not a fab cover? If nothing else, 150 ways of cooking it, the onion. So there's this guy called Ambrose Heath, who was a very prolific cookery author in 1950s UK, and I buy a lot of his books on Abe Books here's again vegetable dishes and salads, partly because they actually are full of like really fun and quite like unusual recipes in it by today's standards, but also because whoever was designing his book covers was supremely talented, and they're all these like really fun, colourful, quite like iconographic covers, which I love. And then this I absolutely love. This is a portrait of our two boys, Inés and Aquila, that my mother gave me, and she had I'd taken a photo of them in the bath, and she had this portrait painted in oil. So I love that. That's very precious for me. So when I was about 5 or 6, I think I was 6 years old, my parents moved to Venice. And the idea was, my mother had lived in Rome in her early 20s and loved it and fallen completely in love with Italy and loved everything Italian. And so my parents really thought that, you know, it would be fun to live in Venice for a year, you know, almost kind of taking a year out. I was going to go to school in Venice, learn to speak Italian, and then we'd come back to England. But Venice is a very special and in many ways quite seductive city. So we kind of just fell in love and then never really left. And then I went to, you know, I really grew up there, and it is for me home. I'd say of all the places in the world, it's the one that most feels like home. And so I grew up there, I went to school there. And then when I turned 18 and I graduated from high school or liceo, high school equivalent, I came to university in England, which is where I met my husband. And then after university, my husband started work in London, but I actually continued my studies for a few years, doing postgraduate work. And then I became a cookery writer. So I've sort of always had this great luxury that as long as I have a kitchen and a laptop, I can kind of work from anywhere. So we fell into this habit of I spent about half the year in Venice. So I'm kind of backwards and forwards between London and Venice. So this is my study. This is where I work often if I'm on Zoom calls or if I'm writing, sometimes even if I'm kind of focusing on design elements and I really want peace and somewhere to concentrate and somewhere with a door that I can shut and kind of be alone. This is where I come. I love this room. We painted it this really like raspberry sorbet red, which I kind of really love because it's quite a sort of dark room naturally, so it sort of felt nice to kind of embrace that with the colour, and it does feel very, very cosy. So here I've got like some fun things that I've had framed. So that is, my mother had a food shop in London in the 1980s. So that's a picture of her in her shop. And at one point, my father also worked as an antiques dealer. So he had also a shop in, I think, 70s or 80s. And it's a photo of him in his shop. So I quite like that. And then these are just menus from dinners that I've hosted in the past that were special to me in some way. That I just framed the menus, and I like to keep them. I keep all my menus. And then this is kind of wall-to-wall books. On this side are all my cookbooks, which controversially I've organised by colour, which is largely because I just find it's quite hard. Like I might not always remember the title of the book, but I pretty much always remember what the cover looks like. So I find this, for me, it's the easiest way to find my books. But I've got lots more actually, but this is my sort of core collection. And I love them. They're my pride and joy, and they've given me so many hours of fun. So this is my third cookbook now. And this is a really fun book to write because it is a cookbook and it is, over 100 recipes or however many it is. I can't remember exactly how many I did in the end. But it's basically a book about love. And the premise of the book is whenever you cook for someone, it's an expression of love. Even if you're kind of making someone a cup of tea or slicing them some toast and buttering it, it's always an expression of love. So the book explores different kinds of love and then to go with each chapter, which is about a different kind of love, are recipes. So there are recipes for two, for like romantic date nights. There's recipes for one. There's a big chapter on self-love. There are recipes that you can cook for your family. Kind of there's a chapter on unconditional love. There's a big chapter on friendship and a big section on comfort food. So it was really, really fun to write because it's quite a sort of emotional book. As well as being a cookbook, I'm a very greedy person. So, I love cooking and testing recipes and, but it was really fun. So this wall, I kind of we were going to put pictures up, but actually I use it as a mood board and it's ever evolving and ever changing. So I put little things up here that I just love, like little drawings. If I go to if there's sort of an invitation that someone sends me that I think is particularly beautiful, or I really like the colour or the motif that in some way I think might be inspiration for a design or something that I want to work on. For a long time we've been working on these little cards for Tavola, which are beautiful illustrated cards by Isabel Wilkinson, and each one is so this is like a little table setting, this is a tea moment, but each one comes with kind of a recipe or some tips, and it comes with things. So kind of when we were working on that, I had a lot of components up here. So I always quite like this corner, it's always quite inspiring. So I definitely take a lot of inspiration from Venice. I find I do my best work in a way when I'm there, definitely in terms of writing or kind of bigger picture work, like kind of thinking about new design elements or whatever it is. It's such a beautiful city. It's impossible not to feel inspired in Venice. It's very peaceful. Everything's on the water. There are no cars. The buildings are very old and ornate and kind of beautifully made. So a lot of those elements sort of naturally just kind of feed into what I do, and to, I guess, help to form an aesthetic that's sort of colourful and a little bit over the top, but not too perfect. Because I always think the buildings in Venice are kind of beautiful and opulent and stunning and so much, but then they're also kind of slightly crumbling, or there's always an element that feels a little bit kind of worn in, which I think is the coziness. You always need the coziness at a table, or in a room, or in a space. So I think that's a lot of the inspiration. And I guess in terms of how I cook, it's the food that I grew up eating that I sort of strongly associate with comfort food, with happy memories. So it's sort of a lot of my recipe inspiration comes from there as well. I think the soul of any home comes from the kitchen. For us, it's definitely the busiest room in the house, in that it's the room that we spend most time in, and probably where our happiest times, certainly as a family, are. It's where friends come over to be with us. I love pottering around and cooking. And it's a really colourful room. So we went for kind of a really, like a sort of buttercream custard yellow, kind of inspired by Monet's kitchen in Giverny. And it's a really happy colour. It kind of feels like sunshine, even on the greyest day, because London has a propensity. Today's quite a sunny day, but more often than not, it's quite grey and overcast. So even on the greyest day, it sort of feels like there are rays of sunshine in that kitchen. This is our bedroom. I love this room. It's at the back of the house because the house is on quite a busy road, looking onto the park on quite a busy road. So it's nice because it's sort of quieter part of the house. The thing that I love most about this room is the walls. And this looks like wallpaper, but it's actually fabric, which feels so nice and is so nice for a bedroom because it kind of has that sort of like, again, sort of very cosy, very tactile element to it. It's another opportunity for chintz, so more chintz. But this was a roll of fabric that was sort of discontinued, and so we just did it for the walls of the room, and I absolutely love it. And then, you know, it's quite a small room, so it's really just room for this bed, which is 4-poster. And then we had actually, we couldn't quite find a sort of second-hand or antique or vintage for iron frame 4-poster bed that quite worked for us. So we bought a regular bed, and then Ben Pentreath's design team found someone who could just add the posters on, who could add, you know, make it 4-poster for us. So that is a kind of lovely detail that makes me very happy. And then what else do I have? This is my sort of corner where sometimes I sit. This is a cushion. It's looking a little bit well loved, but it's a cushion that I tapestried during the first lockdown during COVID. It's like a peony. Again, it's my favourite colours, pink and yellow together. But I love doing needlepoint. I find it very soothing and relaxing and very rewarding. So that's one of the cushions I made. Here are other ones that I've been making, but I need to finish off and have turned into cushions. But then it's really nice to have them around the house, and you have the memories of the time that you made it. Does he love florals? I don't think he loves them as much as I do, but he does. I think he likes the sofa, and he likes the walls in this room. I think he doesn't mind a floral, but I wouldn't say he's as into them as I am. And then I love this bedspread. This is more florals. This I think is actually preen, but it feels quite vintagey. And again, it's yellow and pink, my favourite colours. I quite like that it's reversible, so you can kind of use it both ways round, and so change up the room a little bit by turning it over. And it feels really smushy and cosy. And then I also love this this chinoiserie bureau. I kind of always wanted a bureau, and I kind of use it to store trinkets and everything. But it's just, you know, if I'm writing notes or I want a space to work in the bedroom, I can kind of use it as a desk as well. This we actually found from an antiques dealer called, now his name escapes me, but an antiques dealer in the Cotswolds. And I saw it and I just had to have it. I'd always wanted one like this. So I completely fell head over heels for it. So from the bedroom, come with me through to our bathroom. So this is our bathroom. Also kind of doubles as a dressing room. So you've got kind of all the clothes storage over there on that side of the room. And then, I mean, I've got to say the thing I love most about this room is the bath. This was originally 2 small rooms. So this floor actually was kind of 2 bedrooms and 2 small bathrooms. And we sort of knocked it through to make a small bedroom and then a generous bathroom come dressing room. And the thing I was completely obsessed with, the thing I wanted more than anything, was a copper bath, which is here. And I must say, I love it. I mean, I'm definitely a bath person rather than a shower person. And it is the cosiest thing in the world to have a copper bath because it conducts heat. The whole thing kind of warms up gently. So kind of when you lie back against the bath, it doesn't feel cold. It feels nice and toasty and warm. And I think there's a lovely glow from the colour of the copper as well. So you feel very, very cocooned. But I love my bath. And then this is another fireplace that we bought in again from a different antiques market actually in Brussels. And then we put in, this was sort of inspiration, we took inspiration from one of the fireplaces at our flat in Venice that has tiles as well as the actual fireplace. So we had these lovely sort of Delft style tiles put in, which I like and makes it feel very different from the fireplace down in the living room. So these are quite cute. These are little houses, little blue and white houses, Dutch houses, and they're from KLM, the Dutch airline. I bought them from a flea market, but apparently if you fly business class, they give you one of these little houses, and they're all sorts of different designs and shapes that you need to collect, filled with alcohol. And so it's like a tiny little collectors. Anyway, I just thought they'd kind of go. I bought these, like I say, secondhand, but it's a small collection that I want to build on because I think it goes quite nicely with the Delft tiles. Sorry, these are meant to go on the wall. These are going to go on the wall, and my mother actually gave them to us for Christmas. They're painted by someone called her line is Josephine Dessine, and she does custom plates. So this is me with my cookbooks that very sweetly my mother had made, and then this is the sort of matching one to go with it. But they're too beautiful to eat from, so I want to have them mounted on the wall somewhere, but I haven't got around to it yet. And then this is a portrait of my grandmother, looking very glamorous, so it's nice to have her in here. And then in terms of, this is a freestanding mirror that we bought in, again, an antiques market in Brussels, but I absolutely love, and actually you can see, if I close it, you can see the doors of the mirror, which I don't actually get to see so often, have this sort of beautiful pattern to them, so even they are quite special. This is my banjo bag, which my a friend, Charlotte Olympia, designed, and I'm completely obsessed with. It's possibly the thing I love most. It's a handbag, but it looks like a banjo. And then I've got other little favourite bits and bobs hanging here that I use. And then this is a little table that we also got in Brussels, and it's just kind of useful storage for like bath salts and bath oils and scented candle and nice bits and bobs. And then these are wardrobes. Here's my shoe cupboard. I love them. I'd say, so I've got maybe two top favourites. I love these because they're tutti frutti. So there's like the banana and the watermelon and the pineapple and the strawberry. I absolutely love these. And then I also love these, which are, both pairs of these shoes are, I'd say, not everyday shoes. These with the lips, the hot lips. And they're both Charlotte Olympia, old ones, but still very, very beloved. And I kind of love, we put a sort of toile de jus behind, so you have that toile element. Home means, I guess, somewhere cozy and somewhere that I can share, somewhere that I can bring the people that I love into. So it's, typically as long as I've got kind of a table and a way to kind of make toast and tea or something, I'm happy. But it's somewhere where I can be with the people that I love and spend lots of time with them.
Thanks for watching. For more Homeworthy content, be sure to like and subscribe.